Mission complete.
Yo. 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 Yo.
Welcome to your Inspirational Astrology Horoscope for Wednesday, June 11th, 2025. I'm Astrologer Dave Palmer, the Leo King, here to illuminate the collective consciousness. Well, thanks so much for being a part of highvibe.tv. If you are not a subscriber, make sure that you go to highvibe.tv or any of our apps and subscribe to get all my daily horoscopes like this, my weekly horoscopes, and all the different special shows like Full Disclosure and things like my Jupiter School, which are going on all the time, and of course the community that we have. Also at the same time, of course, you can check out hypergate.ai. Yes, over the last year. Plus, we have truly made the actual real astrology that is AI. That will blow your mind. It even makes predictions, if you wanted to, about the world, your own self. You put any birthday in, and you can also go on the deepest evolutionary journey that, I mean, to be honest with you, you should watch a preview of it. Your mind will be literally blown. Definitely check that out. Also, I am going to be in Texas for the Bridge Expo in Dallas in October with Robert Phoenix and, of course, Rion with Team Light and so many other people. Below on this video is, of course, the link to get the hotel and to be part of this awesome event, October 17th through 19th, the Bridge Expo. Going to be awesome. Team Light, the Leo King, Robert Phoenix. It is going to be awesome. Make sure you get your rooms now. They're at a super big discount. It's going to be at the Hyatt Regency. It's going to be a badass event. I'm super excited. And of course, I'll be DJing, talking, and Robert and I doing an awesome, the way that we do astrology live in person. I'll be setting up quite a lot of cool things there. Robert and I, probably a meetup and stuff on top of the events that are multiple days. So definitely check that out. That's at the link down below. But while I'm here, of course, and I only show up publicly outside of High Vibe on new moons, full moons, or whenever I feel like maybe rattling something off. But of course, we're at the full moon in Sagittarius. Now, this is quite the full moon. We just saw Jupiter make its ingress into Cancer just days ago. And it was when the moon was in Sagittarius. So the moon being in the sign that Jupiter rules over, and Jupiter now making into its exaltation, makes this the story that's cracking wide open. And it's much more than just a basic story. This Jupiter in square to Saturn, this Jupiter in square to Neptune, massive squares there. And on top of that, we have Mars and Uranus, which are making a square, and they're the first quarter square since the conjunction that was almost a year ago in July, the same weekend when they conjuncted in Taurus during the Trump assassination attempt. And this is how long it's taken for Mars to get to its first square. It's only been through, since then, Taurus, Gemini, slowed way the fuck down in Cancer, totally stopped and went retrograde in Leo, retrograded all the way back in Cancer, sat at the same degree in Cancer for 3 weeks, and then went through Cancer so sluggishly in its fall sign, and then came into Leo, and then, of course, here we are at the end of Leo, and finally starting to make its squares to Uranus on this full moon. This is quite the energy. The way that I would describe it is this is where things finally have their breaking point. We do have, of course, the planet Uranus, which is getting ready to ingress into Gemini. We're not there yet, but July 7th, definitely there. But this full moon definitely bringing us into very Jupiter energy. Remember the North Node in Pisces, and that disposits Neptune, yes, but also Jupiter. The South Node in Virgo. Yes, we're in Gemini season. It's a full moon in Sag, but this is where this Jupiter energy and the Jupiter world we are in, and the story now being created and understood, is where we're at. But really, it's also the adventure of the most uncomfortable moment that we are all in the world, in your own life, and that you must make the biggest, hard pivot in your life, whether it's career, work, your personal life. This is now, you must make a turn where the world's going with technology, where the economy is, where the government is, where the craziness is everywhere in your life. It's saying the uncomfort's a good thing. I'd be very concerned, or if you know anybody who is trying to say that things are fine and just great in their life, that they are the biggest liars to ever exist. Because you can feel the uncomfort, and it's a good thing. This is the journey of Jupiter. It's the uncomfort to open up the story and not do things differently and take a new direction. Saturn, Neptune, and Aries, and the Jupiter square that has begun to both. We also have Saturn, which is extremely close to Neptune. So let's take a look and see what we got going here chart-wise. Do that to me, MacBook over there. Oh, we're good over here now. Let's see what we got going on here. So Wednesday's full moon, which actually is happening. It's peaking right now as I'm doing this. And actually, I'll just add real quick. Oh, it's, where is it? It was on that computer. Where would that be? Hold on one sec. I'm sure people are like, well, what the fuck is going on with that image that you got? It's like, oh, well. And then let's go to, here we go. And let's do full moon. Jupiter in Cancer, in the middle of a world going into chaotic war, fighting. This is the breaking point. Don't stay comfortable. Stay awake and know that this is your time to pivot. You can chill and think everything's fine and be the dude, but if you know the dude, it ain't good. This is not about cruising through. There's a difference. This is Jupiter and Saturn making their third square. And now it's at the beginning of cardinal signs. This is Jupiter also in square to Neptune. Right? So this Jupiter, yes, it's exalted. And so we can go into that, but I had some crazy images. Like the energy of Jupiter in Cancer, like this overwhelm of emotion and the wave and the Saturn, the wall coming over the walls of what you think life should always be like in your little weird world of like, play by this way. Neptune, overwhelm here. And the overwhelm is going to be uncomfortable, and that's how you know you're awake. But also it's the only way that you'll be able to see that, oh, the journey now is to find where's comfortable. And be honest and be truthful about that. It's definitely showtime. So this full moon energy, of course, we got the sun here at 20 degrees of Gemini. Of course, that sun is actually sitting with the asteroid America. It's pretty wild because this full moon is really highlighting what's happening in America. But I will say that at 20 degrees here, this sun is now realized since Mercury and Jupiter left Gemini, which was Sunday, right? And Monday, technically, with Jupiter, just a couple days ago, that it didn't get the Sun-Jupiter conjunction. It didn't get it last year when Jupiter ingressed into Gemini, and it didn't get it at all through the whole cycle. So this is where the sun's feeling in Gemini like, oh, and it's not about Mercury. South node in Virgo, Mercury rules that. It's not about that. So, like, that's not the major thing here. Man, this thing. There we go. Sorry, I'm on the new beta of iOS 26 on everything, so you can now use your iPad as a computer. It's kind of crazy. Full moon at 20 degrees. Now, it's square the nodes. At the same token, it's a very interesting one because it's really about this focus on Jupiter. The moon's in Sag. Jupiter rules that, and Jupiter's exalted, of course, here. So when you see this full moon, look at this. Plus 12, mutual reception. Jupiter would love to be where the moon is. That's the home for Jupiter. And the moon would love to be back in Cancer. So this is why Jupiter exalts in Cancer, because every month it gets this mutual reception. It also gets a lot of great different mutual receptions, at least for a minimum 2.5 days a month, right? So it doesn't get itself in bad places. It always has a way to exalt out of the situation, very Jupiter. So this full moon, believe it or not, is a way through this really weird world in a positive way. But the positive is what's uncomfortable and what are those hard choices that you have to make in how you're moving forward. And so the big things here that are confusing are when you are not taking an honest direction in your life about things that become too emotional and I don't want to cause a problem. No, you have to confront when somebody or something or a job or your life is not going good or is not of moral integrity. This isn't be the dude and just chill out and relax and just sip on things and just like, no. Get into that uncomfort and face the truth and be of that higher moral character. There's going to be a lot of weird relationship shit. Venus in Taurus. Well, this Venus in Taurus, just count it. 25 degrees and add another 20. That's an exact semi-square to the sun and a sesquiquadrate to this full moon. And so, of course, this Venus is in Taurus. It's in its home sign. So this is nice, but not as nice as Jupiter here, especially with these weird odd angles here. It almost is this with Uranus, of course, at the same token, getting close to finally leaving Taurus and us seeing the ingress into Gemini. We have to match a vibration we've never matched before, a higher version of our self-worth, a higher version of a quality in our life. And so it's uncomfortable that we have to go to levels that we actually probably don't believe are possible, but they are possible. But you have to hold a higher standard for yourself. You have to hold a higher standard in your relationships. You have to hold a higher standard in every place, because we are moving into, whether we like it or not, the biggest pivot in our lives and the world because of this Jupiter square Saturn and this Jupiter square Neptune, because this combines when Jupiter and Saturn were, of course, in Aquarius in 2020, right here, right? At 0 degree, and that was on 12/21, and then the Jupiter Neptune, which was in, I think that was what? Was it Taurus season? Was it May of 2022 or was it Pisces of 20? I think it was May 20, it was somewhere in Taurus time. So it's like April or May of 2022. You had Jupiter and Neptune here, and that was at 24 degrees of Pisces. So we're seeing the square to both of these big Jupiter transits. We've already seen the square from Jupiter to Pluto when it was in Taurus a couple of years back. But, with all three outer planets, this is Jupiter having to deal with both of them at the same time. Like in many ways, it's got Neptune, but then there's Saturn and Jupiter, Saturn, the two biggest planets. And we've already dealt with two others. In less than a year, and they were immutable signs. But now this is cardinal, new directions and extreme pivots, new turn. It's a big, big turn. This is where it's a turn greater than after hitting the iceberg the Titanic had to take. Like, what the heck, right? There's a lot of shock because Mars in square to Uranus. Now, this is all going to peak from this full moon on Sunday, early morning, Pacific, early East Coast. I think this is the weekend that is going to break everything we thought the world could be. Now, the positive is great lesson, like great lesson time, great time to find comfort in uncomfortable new territory and higher vibrational places, and saying no, and not and allowing your emotions to find comfort in saying no. This is not like, this is a law, this is a way, this is a morality, this is a characteristic, or this is your moral character that is not correct. But that's the weird thing. Saturn's in fall position. It's with Neptune. We're going to see this conjunction happen February next year. They're within less than a degree now, so it's already happening. This is hard because this is really this whole start of this like world that looks like it's empty and you don't know where it's going to be, but it's not empty. It's this beautiful new page and how you write into it. And honestly, Mars and trying to Chiron here, this is where this Chiron Aries, we're only going to make our lives better by the courage and the actions that we take. We need to pay attention to the environment that Jupiter taught us in Gemini. A lot of truths that weren't true, a lot of things that you thought would happen that didn't. But the main thing was, what was the writing on the wall that you didn't want to believe? You know, so if it's a relationship, this is the person that they truly are. If it's a job, this is really not going to work out. You know, money is another part of this with Venus and Taurus in the middle of this full moon. One of the most tightest aspects is the Venus in Taurus with the semi-square and with the sesquiquadrate over to the moon. These are hard aspects. These are not easy. And especially because it's almost like very benefic kind of based. You know, the sun starting to close in on Jupiter. We're going to have that with the new moon 2 weeks from now. Right when my son is going to be born. Maybe, we'll see. I mean, his due date's June 23rd. The new moon's like on the 24th into the 25th. But, you know, like this is where Mercury at least is in a nice sextile to Venus. And so, but that also means at the same time too that, you know, Mercury in Cancer, it can only see emotionally clearly like what feels actually good that's better for my life. And it's very good at seeing this doesn't feel good in my life. And a lot's coming up about like what's a piece of shit and what is not. The Saturn in Aries is at this very beginning point. This Neptune here, like you're going to have to let go of these past illusions of what you identified you thought a person was, a situation was, and mainly the world. The world is not what you thought it was. Because this is bringing up all those big Jupiter conjunctions that happened throughout the last 5 years and the big squares now really being activated. Right? We saw Jupiter-Uranus in a conjunction just in the last 2 years in 2023. And so Jupiter making its ingress into Cancer here begins to try to get to that sextile. That sextile ain't going to happen though in exactness, right? Until like Jupiter stations direct, and that's around the time when we're at the end of the year. And if you look at it and follow it and watching Uranus, it's like going to happen at the very end of the Jupiter transit in Cancer. And that's a sextile. Then the square, of course, will be when we get to Jupiter Virgo. But that'll be the last square of the Jupiter conjunction of all these major planets, including Saturn, including Neptune, including Uranus, and including Pluto, all in the last, you know, that was a tight window, of course, 2020 through 2023. Now we're seeing the big squares. We're seeing the semi-sextile that just finished with Jupiter in Gemini. So, you know, the Jupiter-Uranus energy, really that full pop in where the world goes, and especially when it comes to having to look at what's the higher value. We'll understand that more later, but at least Mercury's helping us now, done with the square to Neptune, done with the square to Saturn. And it's a bitter pill to swallow. Like, this is the honest truth about this, that emotionally I have to learn that the uncomfort is the truth, that that's better than comfortable in numbing myself in some sort of untruth or creating some sort of fantasy story Because part of the problem now is Jupiter in Cancer, not just in square to Saturn, but in square to Neptune. Both the rulers of this north node and disposited by the north node, technically. So it becomes where, is this the right thing to let go? Yes. The thing that is not showing up authentically, the thing that is not showing up spiritually, the thing that's trying to bend and manipulate Neptune, the rules, Saturn. A good example would be seeing Gavin Newsom tonight, of a piece of shit. That guy's got a lot of fucking hell coming to him with Saturn, Neptune in opposition to a Libra, and he's got Jupiter down square. This guy's not going to have a good time, and Mars on its way to be with the South Node in Virgo. Now, I want to say this, though. We have all been blessed, because we came into this year and things have taken so long to get moving, and now they're moving so much that people are like, what the fuck, right? The fact that we went through a Mars retrograde, Venus retrograde, and we finally got out of the shadow of both of those, and those had some very odd transits. That Mars and Pluto opposition, I, of course, looked it up. It hadn't happened in over 3,000 years, which we just saw. 2, Venus stationing on top of Saturn for 3 weeks and just being stuck with Saturn for 3 weeks in Pisces. I mean, this was a really rough beginning. It wasn't up until just recently in the last like 3 to 4 weeks that really things started to move again. And it really didn't move much since really when all the planets started retrograding in the summer of last year. So like what's kind of crazy is like, there's not much of, this is a full moon of like, this is the door, take it. Because if you look forward just by the new moon, that's 2 weeks from now when it's in Cancer with Jupiter and coming off the squares of Saturn, Neptune, that's right where we are right now with Saturn, Neptune, or these are the degrees where they're going to retrograde. Right? When these two retrograde, nothing's going to be moving forward much anymore. And it's all happening as this is the last week that this full moon has. And so really this full moon does have a positive aspect here to Mars, an approaching trine. It's got an approaching trine to Chiron. So it's trying to make a grand trine. It's not one though. That's too far of an orb. But especially even with this Mars and square to Uranus, the whole point is anytime Mars comes with the South Node in a transit, it's the loser's transit. Meaning we all feel like losers. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it through this. And we're already at that place. So to add that, when Saturn, Neptune retrograde in Aries, which Mars is the ruler of Aries, there are just weeks left. Because you have to remember that when Saturn starts stationing before retrograde, it doesn't move much. And you feel Saturn world. And then Neptune world, we've never felt Neptune in Aries, any of us alive. We've never felt it station. That's coming soon. So really, in my opinion, this is literally, I would put as one of the top 2 weeks of the whole year to make your pivots and make your moves and do it. Whatever is not on the up and up, you are now setting the precedent, not the belief. You are setting a hardcore boundary and not falling for the illusion anymore of going through life and just like, you know what, let me just keep trying to find comfort in this uncomfortable situation. Let me keep placing value on some person, situation, things that don't value back the same way, don't actually raise to that higher vibration. This is you setting the precedent on this full moon. Like, my story is different now. My story, I have the facts, and I'm going to apply it to this story now. And I'm going to actually hard line, not fall for the bullshit, not try and like wiggle around. I'm going to just, very simple Aries, right? Make my choice. This is the direction. And I have to go with the best data I have. I have to go with the best understanding that my emotions, if they try to guide the way without understanding that there's a hard check with this Saturn. And it's like this Jupiter Saturn met in Aquarius at 0 degrees. It's about you breaking out of massive, restrictions on yourself, connecting to a place where you can rise to a higher frequency. But if you're going to be stuck in this matrix bullshit and continuing, harboring Jupiter and Cancer, square Saturn and Neptune, harboring the lie in your own self, who you are, what you're still trying to take care of that doesn't give a fuck about you back. This is where this full moon could be really harsh and be the teacher you don't want to deal with. What's interesting is the midpoint of Mars and Uranus in the square that's building is going to finish at 14 degrees during the square this weekend by the star Sirius, and when Mercury's crossing it. So, meaning this Mars square Uranus is really going to be focused on like a better understanding of that. If we just understand our feelings and we listen to this courage to raise to a higher place, and to also, the act of love is one thing, but to truly be creative and to truly allow ourselves to express ourselves, we have to realize, where do we keep avoiding the upgrade within ourselves to get to a higher tier of ourself in our heart and to our place? Why do we keep trying to, I would say it's kind of crazy, but almost like throwing away our opportunities because we're afraid of what maybe other people might think. That's where the Pluto and Aquarius comes in. And this Pluto and Aquarius, of course, is the only planet still retrograde. We've been blessed. You had all May. Here you are in June. June's the last month. Remember, July is Uranus and Gemini and Saturn and Neptune retrograde, and then the beginnings of that Mercury retrograde coming in Leo. This is where you make the moves. Now, they're moves that you don't have to rush, but you got to get going on them. Meaning it's not about the sprint, but it's about just getting like, I'm doing this. And actually start doing it. I like this full moon because it's like, if you talk the talk, Gemini, you have to not just believe, but you actually have to walk the walk and actually open the door and go through the door. The walking the walk is the Saturn, Neptune, and Aries. But that Jupiter and Cancer is like, but it's comfortable. Nothing is comfortable right now because this is all bullshit world we live in. This is all exposing all the things that we've been naive about with Neptune and Pisces since 2011 into 2012, right? Going even back to the last time the nodes were here in 2005-06, right? This is a long time coming for you to finally get out, see and create this pivot in your life that will take you on the path that when everybody goes, when is it going to feel normal again? Well, it's never going to feel normal again because there is no energy that is able to hold the past. But the new energy you create is a better energy than what you think feeling normal will feel like. But you have to walk through that door. And, we're going to see in the world that we're coming to this extreme crack point. This is where this Jupiter square Saturn, Mars square Uranus, it's going to crack, okay? And these midpoints of these big squares, so then the midpoint that's for Jupiter and Saturn is sitting here at 15 degrees of Taurus. And Venus is heading towards that. So in many ways, there's a massive disruption on these ideas emotionally and these value systems that we have. But the midpoint of any two planets, or if they're multiple, but really the midpoint, right? If I always think of it as like a chain between both planets and then the midpoint of that chain. If you were to push extremely hard on that chain, eventually it's going to break the chain. And oh my gosh, so that's a pressure point. Midpoints are a point that people sometimes truly miss in their own chart. Like they're like, what's happening to me? And as a good astrologer is going to be like, what's the midpoint of that? Like, you know, because if you don't see like transits hitting your exact degree, something's always hitting something. And the midpoint's usually the one that's like, oh shit. So it might not seem like it. It's the kind of blind spot in a way of like the square, right? So like the square of Jupiter and Saturn in Aries and Neptune in Aries is about Taurus. That, of course, this emotional quest that we're uncomfortable with and the new directions that we have to pick and not fall for the same illusions, and also really embody a new understanding that has been through the lessons of what numbing yourself out is, or just even the idea of what spirituality is. Like, sorry, like what you learned over the last 15 years was a nice tool and guide, but we're not connecting to God the same way. It's a new way. Like, this is all new. And so you have to look at it like being too connected, and where the breaking point is a value system, something that you're attached to that you think, I can't do without this. This is an ego massive drop. And that's where you can finally then see emotions clearly, because the emotions right now are like, oh my God, this is happening, and it's very sensitive, Jupiter square Neptune, and then falling for your own kind of like spinned out belief systems and religious ideologies, and really it's just deep conditioning that you have to get out of. No, you don't need to be conditioned anymore and be nice to the piece of shit in your life anymore, whoever that might be. You don't need to do the job the way that you think you always have to. You don't need to prove yourself because you think that's how you'd be accepted. You don't need to follow the script that everybody else is doing, right? You know what's true. This is really putting a lot of focus on you, your state of mind, and being ready for this door and seeing it and doing it and placing not so much a boundary, but setting the precedence of like, this is what it is now, and this is who I am. The more that you embody into this new identification and let go of the ego's old attachments to an old matrix that will not work anymore, will not function anymore, but has the that it's functioning. Look at the news. Look at the wars. Look at the fucking riots. Look at all the shit. Nobody wants to say it out loud, but the truth is the Democrats and the Republicans both want to clear the illegals out. They got an Olympics in 2028. The gig's up. Right? They don't want to do the Ukraine war. That means a war with Russia. That means a war with everybody else. That's why they're kind of like balking. But that's where you're seeing hard precedents having to be done. This is not a world anymore for the ultra sensitive. As light workers, we have to be there to be like, hey, I understand you. I'm there and we're empathetic. Let's find a way to like see, get out of that, whatever it is. It's probably a trap. It's probably a past thing. It's probably something that you're healing. And let's heal yourself through actually following your heart and doing what you've never had the courage to do before. Say the thing, become the thing, go in the direction that you've never really done before, that you've never embodied fully. So like people that really are afraid of who they are and what they're possible of, this is the full moon that can change that for them and give them that, right? Those that are really have been stuck for years, decades with Neptune and Pisces and all the Pisces energy, this this is your moment. Remember, Saturn, Neptune, they're both retrograding back into Pisces. Saturn's going to go back to 24 degrees of Pisces. Neptune's going to come back to these last 2 degrees of Pisces. The world's going to go ultra paranoid. So right now the world's on edge. Then the world goes paranoid 6 months from now, because it's like being taken off a drug and being like, everything's great. I guess I can, but it's edgy. I don't know how I deal with it. There's all this stuff happening. I'm so aware of everything happening, and I have to really, but it's like, get yourself in the position now and make your moves. You know why? Because we get to the late summer with the first eclipses. We are exactly halfway through with this full moon, from the first set of eclipses of this year into the second set. This is the exact halfway point. This is the full moon square the nodes. By the time that full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces happens, with Saturn retrograded back into Pisces on top of Saturn, with Neptune back, I'm telling you, this is going to be really radical. It's like being a mental patient that was put out, and then if you didn't embody and step into your new self, you're just like, I'm going to be lazy and just keep embodying that I was in a mental institution, and It's like they pull you back in and they give you a new drug, and that's the paranoia, right? Now, I'm not saying that's literal. That's like me of trying to get you to understand this is the moment. The world is going to break what needed to be broken. The pressure, the anger, the emotion. It's time to use that as fuel, not to go after people, but to set precedent. This is what I'm doing. And whoever doesn't like what you're doing, this isn't for you to go make other people feel comfortable because they want you to do what you don't want to do. Okay? Like, we live in a world where everybody's trying to manipulate people. Like, I want you to be more like this. I want you, Jupiter in Cancer is going to be an overhaul with the squares of Saturn, Neptune here, of how families condition, like really understanding these roles of like what is the definition of comfort? The one thing that Saturn will never lose, whether it's in fall or it's with Neptune or it's in Aries or it's in conjunction of Neptune and Aries, it is the laws. So you can look at it too, because Saturn rules governments, and it also rules, of course, institutions, laws. It rules quite a lot in this understanding of structure. The one thing that you're seeing the pivot in America and it's a big pivot, and it feels bigger than it actually is, but it's pivoting towards, we're no longer not going to follow the laws. The ones that have been on the books a long time, the basic ones. You're going to see a world come back that you and I don't really know about much. A world that actually the comfort is to where you are allowed to be who you are. But if the rules and the laws allow it, like if you're an illegal, that's a hard one, but there is no more sensitivity left. Saturn, Neptune, Aries, it's like, sorry. You really think Gavin Newsom cares? There's no more money in the state. He just cut off the illegals to have fucking health insurance a month ago. Nobody cares. Democrat Party, if they were to come out and come against the illegals, then they would have 0% likability. So this is a deal that's been made. And you have to see behind the curtain with Saturn and Neptune here. It's very easy to see. Wherever they're pulling emotional strings, which unfortunately it happens to be the Democrats right now, that's not who they are. This is the mask that's trying to be in front with Neptune and Saturn and Aries, okay? It's fake emotional. We care. No, you don't. Sanctuary cities are a jail, because if they leave it, everywhere else in the country, they're going to be arrested and taken away, because that's the law. Sanctuary cities are a jail. It's the same way that the Civil War was. Treating them like slaves. You stay here and we provide you this little bit. You're not allowed to have a real job. So, it's insane. And I'm going to be honest, this full moon is going to be a long 2-week carryover to the new moon. And that new moon's going to try and find a way to anchor in this new emotional energy over all the crazy chains breaking in the world everywhere. Okay? It's going to get crazier. It's going to get louder. And Uranus isn't even in Gemini yet. This weekend's going to be gnarly. I would say this is like definitely in my top 3 of all-time horoscopes, predictions of events. Weekend. Pay the fuck attention. Stop living a lie. Saturn and Neptune is really easy. It's simple. Are you living a lie? What do you mean? Like, are you happy with who you are and what you're doing, and this is the direction, and are you raising the bar higher in your life, and are you going to allow energy that doesn't value you back? Are you going to allow people who are not honest with you and aren't true and can't be authentic to try and wedge you into this place where you feel like you have to take care of them because you want to fulfill their happiness and needs of what they want you to be? No, it's over. Over. But you're going to see a lot of minions out there with Pluto and Aquarius, right? The hard part of Pluto and Aquarius is so many people want to be sheep. Even after being exposed for 5 years, that is not the play to play. But people still want to be sheep. They still want to be told what to do. This is about being the lesson of you are here to listen to God and yourself and what the divine is saying and do that. Not what you're persuaded by. Not what other people want you to do. Peer pressure is not a good thing. And more importantly, you losing your life with the sextile that's beginning as Pluto's retrograding and beginning to sextile the Saturn Neptune, becoming this kind of like lone wolf, and like you know, this is opposite. This is where you have to connect. You have to show up in the world. You have to show who you really are. You have to be authentic. Jupiter, though, we can learn great lessons and have the benefic qualities if we are seeing the bigger picture, that there is a bigger picture here. There's a bigger picture for my life. Let me actually follow my moral and ethics and go into the adventure to find where the comfort that is not in this moment. But the actions that I take will get me to that place. And I don't have to know what it fully looks like. I just have to know these are the steps. This is the direction. The writing's on the wall. Jupiter showed me all the writing on the wall in Gemini. It didn't have the sun conjunct it. So there is this feeling like we missed something. There's a glitch in the matrix. And with that Mars square Uranus, you either are a follower and you live your life for your happiness off other people's values, or you are somebody with the courage to live your life and inspire others and have others be inspired back, and not wanting them to do it the way that you do it, but find their own unique way. This is very difficult, though. Uranus rules foreigners. There's a war against foreigners. And it's propagated by the media to be like it's the right against the left. Both sides want this. I've warned people, if you were illegal for years, but especially in this last year, from 20, I'm like, you need to, don't. I've been telling you this is going to happen. Don't play around. Don't think there's anybody coming to save you. There's nobody coming to save you. That's the other part of this astrology. This is the now new tone in the new story we're in. There is nobody coming to save us but us, and whether or not we take the move and the actions on our own and know how to do self-care in that way on our own. Nobody coming to save you. I don't care if there's another pandemic. Nobody's going to give a fuck. Nobody's coming to save you. I don't care if there's another this, another that. Nobody's coming to save you. Are you really going to be with that dude who's shady and fucking got it past history of fucking doing weird shit? Are you really going to put your safety in that? Fuck no. Really going to follow those astrologers who make horrible predictions and still keep pushing predictions that come untrue? Fuck no. Like, the highest spiritual thing that we can do with the North Node in Pisces and dispositing Neptune in Aries that's with Saturn, and with having this Mars that is dispositing that Saturn and Neptune and Chiron, right? The ruler of Aries that's trying to Chiron, is this is your moment to heal by taking the most courageous pivots of your life, taking on not gambles, but taking on the understanding that I am going to have to raise the bar high and set it as high as it's ever been before, and believe that I will get there and I will accomplish this feat. And I have to do it. I can't. This is where insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, and expecting a different result. Like verbatim, the universe is screaming at you. Stop. Do this. And if you can't get your ego out of the way of actually listening to God for this, I don't know what to tell you. But what does the news say? What does this person have to think? Fuck what anybody has to think. It's God speaking directly to you as you. We are the ones that came here from heaven to embed here to change the world. There's no more excuses anymore. Anywhere in the astrology, there's zero. Nobody wants to hear an excuse. Nobody is there to listen to it. You will be embarrassed. Look at the mayor of LA. Look at the governor. The most embarrassing fucking two people on the planet right now, the clowns. Do you want to be that in your life? Coming up with another excuse, deflect, blame another person, but not take any accountability and not make a move, and just let everybody blow it up, and let's blame this person. This is exactly the astrology of retarded people that literally blame, and really what retarded people are egomaniacs who literally cannot own anything within themselves, do horrible things, and blame it on other people and say, I'm always the victim. If that's you, it's time to wake up. This is going to be hard though, because this is like such an extreme break of the chain that there are going to be, whether it's relationships, when we all make these pivots this week, there is no going back to them. These are final choices and they're not going to be salvageable. So you got to make your choice and understand that, you know, the universe is not supporting an old way. There is no more systems to hold it up. There's no more frequencies to hold up these old patterns and these old things anymore. Stop waiting for that. Well, maybe one day, maybe it'll change another day. No, own it now. They're not coming to the table. The job's not working out. You're not making the money. You need to make the pivot. You do it. And you make the choice and you go, this is the choice. Anybody trying to convince you right now to, no, I'm sorry, let me keep being a piece of fucking loaded ass shit to you. Fuck you. No. I'm done. Bye-bye. Pivot. This is self-care radically in a new way. Owning what is the best for your self-care and no longer people-pleasing. No longer giving away your soul and letting it be abused by people that literally just want to try to manipulate you all the time. Because with Aries, you're always dealing with Libra. With Mars and Leo and trying to Chiron and it's square to Uranus, this is dealing with people that are actually energetically foreign because they don't value your heart at all. They don't value whatever it is. And it's like you've put everything in. Right? I mean, imagine being an illegal immigrant right now. They actually put in all this energy to create the idea of a sanctuary city and hold themselves here and come to the border, and we're told by all these people, yeah. Guess what? They never were going to do it. They're not going to protect you. They can't. They lied to you. There's no such thing as a sanctuary law that could be used. You're witnessing it right now. That was all a lie. Right? People trying to be, the fake heroes of the world. Bye-bye. Because the hero within yourself now is willing to make hard choices and make hard pivots. And go, you know what? This has to be done, and I'm not going to accept this anymore. I'm not going to sit in this uncomfortable shit and think that everything's okay and try and make up another fucking lie and say, okay, I guess it's going to be all right. It's not. There's going to be a lot of breaking down of situations, relationships, things that just, whatever is not in alignment, period, is done. And if you want to get stuck in the most ferocious, I'll call it the most like paranoid, schizophrenic, horrific movie of your life 6 months from now, go right ahead and just don't listen to what the astrology is saying and don't make a pivot. And I'm going to keep giving it another chance if I don't make a change and I don't make a huge, this is massive life-changing moves. Whether you like it or not, the economy, it is not normal. It's different. It's hard to define it. But where is technology going? Where is the future going? Where is this going? What you have to make a move. You just mean you got to read the writings on the wall everywhere. Okay? So a lot of people on this full moon are probably asking the big questions like, why is the universe doing this to me in my life right now? Well, it's pretty simple. It's to get you through this door and see what's on the other side of it and get you out of this kind of crazy place that you've been in and exposing to you what's true and what's not true from a really deep spiritual sense by pulling the wool off your eyes, right? This is like where the wolf in sheep's clothing people are walking around still thinking that they've got the fucking mask on, but they don't. And those are the unconscious, and those are the egomaniacs, and those are the people who use care and all that as creeps and don't trust them at all. Right? This is where no longer can you be a light worker or a spiritual person and keep giving the benefit of the doubt to somebody who's a piece of shit. A fucking liar, a fucking con, somebody who's fucking doing dark shit. Done. And if they can't own up to any part of that, they don't want to actually meet in a true... So the Mars square Uranus, there's going to be massive conflicts. But conflict resolution can be had if people are willing to meet and find ways to make it work and take accountability and understand the value of the other person. Whether that's therapy, whether that's like, other people getting involved. But like, if people can come to conflict resolution and they can find a way, then okay, that's something that you can move through the door with. But if it's in complete denial, and it's like, this is where we have all been spiritually gaslit by the universe, that the world we live in, and people who we've always known were like, what the fuck? And I'm not just talking about the world, I'm talking about in your own life. This is the transit of you getting out of being gaslit and taking your power back and saying, I'm done. Because there's no accountability. Because we don't want to set into the new moon in Cancer 2 weeks from now and create this new adventure in this new emotional safe place by allowing that kind of shit energy in. No more. It's done. And it's hard because, we all are very spiritual and sensitive and compassionate people, anybody who's watching this. But you know what? Saturn and Neptune say it's time for you to stop overdoing that space and time to get back into the energy, make the moves, and do what you got to do. You just can't sit there and worry about which 50 to 60, maybe even closer now with AI stuff. 80% of the time what we're watching is fake, right? I could right now on my phone put a filter of me being beat up in my face and be like, I was at the riots and the ICE, they beat me up. It's all over the place. And then it's funny because then they'll go like this and you can see their face. It looks so real you would never know. Don't fall for all this shit no more. Please do not. That's what they want. They want you, it won't be a black picture for Black Floyd to post for Instagram, but by this weekend, it'll be something crazy like something that feels similar. People are so lost right now that they're going to go, well, I just want to be around other people and go through the stresses together. And it's like, this is not the time to go through stresses with people who are stressed and trauma bond. Collective trauma bonding is the opposite of what we're going to be doing right now. This is you removing yourself from all trauma bonds. This is you removing yourself from your own trauma bond to situations in your life, not jumping into them, not falling for whatever is the truth that's hard to see because everybody's bullshitting in media and politics and all that shit all the time. But just go by the book. Well, the immigration law has always been here. They haven't made an amendment to allow undocumented illegal immigrants to become citizens. It's technically a breaking of the law. That's why there's ICE. They come in. The federal law states they can do that. Okay. It's about, are you really going to be so upset about something that is actually true? You can be, but are you really going to waste all of your emotional energy and try and pivot something that you can't pivot? You can't pivot that truth. You can't make up laws anymore, Neptune and Saturn and Aries. You can't make it up. Like, we're a sanctuary city. That's against the law. You can't do that. That's not a state right. When you're going against a federal law, that'd be like, we're taking away guns from all citizens in this state. You can't do that. Second Amendment right. Well, you can't give somebody citizenship when they're not a citizen and they're illegal. There is no amendment saying that. But we live in a world now where they erode your rights every day while making and giving and trying to give all the rights to the illegals. Like, that's fucking gaslighting like I've never seen it, making you think that you're crazy if you say it out loud. Like, while you have Mexico literally saying, this is our land, these people were here before you. Like, what are you talking about? Like, Los Angeles was built in 1850. It wasn't a bunch of Mexican people chilling here. Sorry to say. I know my history. My family came on the Oregon Trail. Like, it was settlers that came from all parts of America after what happened. People are really dumb. But now you have a foreign government now telling you, oh, yeah, no, that's our land. Like, I'm surprised we don't fucking go to war with Mexico. You really want to do that? And we don't need to, because they'll get their ass whooped again. That's the hard part about Aries. It's war. So there's balance and harmony, right? Libra. The other way that the universe balances the world is through war. Whoever wins gets the Capricorn, the decision making, and Cancer, the land and the property, and sets the rules, the justice. Whoever wins the war. Whoever loses the war retreats, and you lose. And for some reason, we live in a matrix that God put that first. So you can be all lost in your sensitivities and all this stuff. But being spiritual isn't about being empathetic to things that don't make sense. Being spiritual doesn't mean being empathetic to things that you feel like you have to, because I can't stand the virtue signaling in this astrology community and shit, to be like, well, none of them speak real. There's a couple. Most of them are just like, well, you know, the concern, it's like, stop trying to be fucking ultra spiritual, because actually that is the most fraudulent gaslighting bullshit of all time. Acting like you're somebody that cares more when really you're being controlled by other people's kind of like ideology that nobody's actually looking, but you think they are. And that's where, you know, it takes some strong Leo energy here to actually go, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm making a crazy pivot and turn. And you know what? The universe could even pivot and turn me in the middle of me thinking I'm making the turn. And that's a better direction than me sitting in the same space and trying to be a woke-topian, overemphasizing, over-emotional, crying, being a baby, all this Aries, all this Cancer squares, Jupiter square Neptune, right? Overdoing your sensitivities emotionally. And Neptune and Aries is like, what are you doing? You're forgetting about yourself here. You're like losing yourself. You're like turning into a painting that's just like, blah, like melting. Like, what the fuck? Don't be abused by this world anymore. Don't be abused by those that take advantage of your little heartstrings and keep pulling on you. That's over. This is me not I know my delivery might be like, what the fuck is this delivery? This delivery is me being like, this is the most serious shit since I've been talking to you guys forever. I mean, fuck, over 10 years of like, you can make the biggest pivot of your life right now and get out of any situation that you have fallen your own, I don't want to say the word victim, that you have learned your spiritual lessons of where you've lost yourself that don't align with you anymore. And that it's about, bye-bye. I'm doing this now and I'm going in this direction. This is it. This is the moment. Don't let my delivery, don't let anybody's energy fuck you from getting to the truth of just the basics that you can do yourself with the astrology right now and listen to God and be like, yep, the money's tight. This job's not working. This needs to change. It's been the same this way. This relationship is a piece of shit. This person won't admit when everybody else saw them do it. Like, bye-bye. Have fun. And there's going to be collateral damage. Like, it might hurt somebody else that you know. Well, it's like, well, if they're not willing to see it, then they're being gaslit and they're being lost. Psh, that's not your problem. You can't be like, oh, I need to hold space because even though we had to stop talking to that person, a really good person is still falling for their spell. You got to just trust that their heart and their courage going to show up now. This is not where we enter into the matrix anymore to save people. Everybody's got to step up and get to the phone on their own. Let's see what we got card-wise. Oh, yeah, the horoscope by me. Longer, it's late. Although this is like one of my last full weeks here, you know, I'm about to have a son, so I'm kind of in overdrive mode. You know, you never know when the baby's going to come, so I'm getting as much as I can done while I got the moment. All right, let's see what card we got here. It's funny. I didn't even want this deck. We're gonna use the badass tarot. This is a badass moment in astrology. Honestly, this is about you being your most badass self, and that's how you self-care. Now, you don't need to be a dick, right? You say your piece, you go to, you know, you say, I'm not dealing with that anymore, and you move on, and you don't keep doing the, and then I got to tell you this, and that, no, it's just like, I'm done, bye-bye, thank you. I'm doing this in my life now. And that's everything that you're dealing with that's not working out, right? Don't get caught up in Pluto and Aquarius to be like, I can fix that. You can't fix what has already been seen that is way overboard and not even in many cases human, right? Like, it is not human to just completely gaslight and fucking have no moral compass and fucking do crazy shit and act like nothing's happening when everybody, and there's witnesses and there's people and all these people know. You can't just keep falling for this. Like, this is really where it does feel like we are watching a massive spiritual purge of the biggest pieces of shit in the world. And you just got to literally pivot around it into a better direction, because they're trying to convince you, don't change, stay the same way, keep doing what always works. This always works. Just keep doing this. Fuck no. This is going to bring up family dramas, Jupiter in Cancer, square Saturn in Aries, right? Who's the one person fucking things up? Who's the one person who's creating the family chaos? And who's the one that's got the shady shit, right? This can also bring up you, and like, if you have fears of like making a family, right? Why does your ego, why is that more important than you finding a safe emotional place? And especially with Mars and Leo here, I know there's lots of people watching, especially if you're a Pluto Scorpio, right? Now that Pluto's in square to you, and let's say you haven't started a family and you want to procreate, well, like, this is where you make your moves. You can't keep making the next excuse. Or, whether you're a man or a woman, your partner, you guys can't have a kid, and you tried IVF a million times, that means there's a deeper question. Are you guys really in love? You can't be afraid to lose it all right now. That's how you surrender the ego. If you lose it, you'll find a comfortable space and figure it out. And that's when the door opens. This is humble being redefined, meaning the old way of how humbled was defined was be subservient and put on the show even more empathetic that you are, and that you're, no, don't talk about me, and I don't, shut the fuck. That is such bullshit. That is not true humble. Humble is humble before the divine. I hear your voice. I know what is happening, and I am not going to do that. I'm not going to allow this in my life anymore, and I'm going to make this move and make this huge pivot. That's humble. Trying to stay in this state, like to create this kind of state of persona of being humble, is insane. That is not the definition of a person. That is a pronoun in many ways, right? Did not come here in Aries to live a life and define yourself by a pronoun. That's why it was so crazy to watch people fall for that shit for so long. Because they don't know who they are. How do you address me? Like, really? You think I'm here to serve you? Like, as some like king or queen that you need to tell me how I need to call you by? And we talk about egos in this world. You can call me whatever the fuck you want to call me. You can call me piece of shit. You can call me David, the Leo King. You can call me whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. You could call me a girl. You can call me a lesbian. You can call me trans. You can call me an Orange County piece of shit. You can call me whatever you want. I'm not going to care. Because I know who I am. I don't need a pronoun to define me. Welcome to Saturn, Neptune, Aries. You know, that's where, you know, my empathy now in Aries is I feel bad for the people who really have stripped themselves of paint thinner of their lives, their bodies, their everything. They lost. They don't even knew who they were, and they tried to go fucking play chop shop, and they tried to play with pronouns, and they tried to play with all their body parts, and they tried to fantasize these crazy Neptunian Pisces crazy things, all to watch the whole world be like, yeah, we don't agree with that shit at all. That's what's happening now with the immigration thing. Yeah, sorry, but that's the way it is. People are not going to join the rallies the way that you think. It's not going to become like a George Floyd, but it's going to go crazy because the people who are here that really don't want to fucking go because they have other ideas and agendas and have been putting on the mask. I'm just a humble illegal here doing a good job. You can't work in America without a social security number. I can't hire anybody that's not a citizen. It's illegal. So what are they really doing? They're doing the slave work like the slaves did during the Civil War for cheap, and then being put into fucking old fucking hotels that are bought by NGOs. Like, are you paying attention yet? The idea of a sanctuary city is the same way of a plantation. Wake up. Don't fall for this shit. If you have a mom, a brother, a sister who falls for that shit, a dad, if you have a dad now, that's really sad. But you got, you know, this is where you might have to have that hard line pivot. Like, okay, have fun in that little crazy world because they're probably going to have you, you know, next thing you know, like hide the illegal alien in the garage, mom and dad. What? And then, yeah, you'll go to jail forever, right? Like, you're at that point. The Hermit. We're coming out with our light to guide us out of the cave that we've spent so long in and gathering all of our data and our spiritual knowledge, and we have to have the courage to shine the light and move now into things, not go clam up and back, like get into this like space where I don't know what to do. I love this one too because this hermit is just literally this. Dare I say, a fucking lost sexual person watching like Sex in the City and they're just sitting there. They're lost. You got to come out and you can't be lost anymore. Well, I got a Knight of Wands in reversed. This isn't about what makes me jump for my happy glory. This is much more serious and much more like, you know what? I'm not going to be immature and just do things for a quick, fun thing. This is about my long term. This isn't about my quick, ooh, that'll make me feel better quick. This is about long term, coming out, knowing all of the things where we all got lost, where we have now seen the truth, and we have to guide the light and not just run in and just go, this is just because it'll make me happy quick. No. Long term. I appreciate you all very much. I hope to see you, of course, on High Vibe TV. And of course, definitely join me on hypergate.ai, the only astrology AI out there that actually does shit that you've never literally seen before with astrology, and faster than any astrology that's ever happened in the world or any software program or anything. And we taught this bitch how to do prophecies from all my work. It'll write a prophecy for you about anything. and get you can be like, when is Chiron going to conjunct my sun, and what is it going to do to me, and what is that going to affect my best friend, and this is their birthday, and accurate, exact, but it with all my training. It'll blow your mind. You have to, I can't even put a description because guess what? You are the one who can go anywhere in the hypergate. Imagine how wide the universe is with astrology. You can think of any crazy thing and put it in and it will do it. That was the whole point of making it. Took a long time. Fucking. Sorry to say, if you're still paying for that co-star app and shit, you're getting your ass ripped off hard. Adios. Peace out. Stay up. Be you. And don't let all these pieces of shits out there, don't give them an ounce of your care. And you have to provide what? Provide you to keep lying and gaslighting and bullshitting this whole world and me and this. Fuck you. Peace, motherfuckers. That's where you'll find your comfort in the uncomfort of saying, fuck no and fuck yes to this direction. Peace.
Monster.